Okay, I think we're live. Sorry, I'm a few minutes later than I said I would be. As you know, if you get my emails, and if you don't, please sign up for my emails on my website, craftycarolscards.co.uk. Unfortunately, I had to take my husband for a physio appointment, and we're always struggling a little bit to get back for 3 o'clock when that's the case. So anyway, without further ado, I need to tell you before we start, there is a fabulous offer at the moment, which is on the sweet collections. There are lots of sweets, both in the new catalogue, and if you want a paper copy of the new catalogue, get in touch and I can get you one. But you can see it online. And there are also a lot of online exclusive sweets. And at the moment, there is a wonderful offer from now until the end of June where you can buy one sweet and get another half price. You don't have to buy the full suite. For example, if you wanted to buy a stamp set from one suite and a set of DSP from another, you can do that. And the lower priced item will be half price. So it's a good excuse to actually get buying if there's a suite you actually like and want to see. And there's a huge choice. There are 27 suites. I put a link in last week's email. There'll be another one in this week's email. So if you haven't got my emails, please do sign up at craftycarolscards.co.uk and you will get all the information on that. And it will take you to the web page where you can see all the 27 suites and decide if you would like anything from them. So as I said, you don't have to buy the full suite. You could buy elements from different suites or 2 elements from the same suite. It's totally up to you. But anything within that suite collection is buy one, get one off. And if you wanted to buy 4 things, you'd buy 2 and then get 2 off at half price. Again, it would be the lower priced items that come off. So have a think about it and have a look because there's so many lovely things available. Anyway, let's get my ugly mug off this screen and put my desk onto the screen. Oh, that's not very straight, is it? Let's just move that around a little bit. That's better. Oh dear, I can't bear it if it's not straight. Because this is the card we're going to make today. Well, sort of this, because I want to do it slightly differently. So what I've used is a crumb cake, and the idea of this is to show you just how with scraps of DSP you might have left over, you can just make a very, very simple background. So I've actually used some scraps I had left over from the Woven Textures DSP, which is one of the suites. So if you want that paper, you could buy it. Plus you could get another paper from another suite half price or a stamp set half price or whatever. And then I've used the Thoughtful Wishes bundle, this gorgeous set of lovely, lovely images and stamps and great sentiments, a nice mix of sentiments there. And it comes with fabulous dies. I always keep the dies with the stamp set they match. So sometimes when it's a great big set like this, I have to cut them up. And sometimes it's really difficult to cut them up, as it is with this one, because look how many dies there are. It's ridiculous. So we have a lot of dies that match both the stamps, but also additional dies. And it's that die there that I've used as the background for this card that I'm not 100% happy with. To me, it's just too dark. It doesn't really show up. So for today's card, we're doing it in a slightly different colour, although I'm making really much the same card. And I've used the stamps to decorate the envelope and inside the card as well. On the thank you cards that I make for myself, I don't usually put a sentiment on the inside because I like to write my message, but I did use the stamp and just used a watercolour painter just to fill in the sort of heads of the stamp. You can see it better on the envelope because you can just drag that ink around and it's not very straight, is it? Let's try that. And it looks rather nice. So anyway, I'll show you that today. So what do you need for this? Hang on, I'm running out of room here. Right. So we need, first of all, a base card, and this is the normal base card, and this is 21 centimetres by 14.8, scored at 10.5, or if you've got US cardstock, you're watching in the US, it would be 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, scored at 4.25. So that is our base card, which we are going to fold in half and just burnish there. So I'll just get my bone folder so I can give it a good burnish. Bone folder is definitely one of the essential tools that you need to have. So that is my base card. Then you need various other bits, which basically just can be anything you want. I've got sort of various bits because I'm using some as that, for example, I'll use for the sentiment in a bit, and various other bits to do some die cutting and stamping on. and then 3 pieces that are going to go down the front of the card. And it doesn't really matter what size they are. I've suggested they need to be approximately 9 centimetres by 5 centimetres. But you can see these are all just, those two are actually very similar, but they're slightly different. And that does not matter. And I've got 2 pieces of DSP and 1 piece of cardstock. And you could use 3 pieces of DSP. You could use 1 piece of DSP, 2 pieces of cardstock. It depends what you've got to use up. This is an easy, I'm calling it a tri-panel card, because you just stick the panels on, not lined up or anything like that, because they're not exactly the same size, but just sort of offset slightly down the front of the card. But to add interest, if you're using, I mean, obviously the DSP itself has got lots of interest in it. This is actually the same piece of DSP. I just had to cut 1 piece in half and using both sides of it. So I've got 2 different sorts of DSP there. For the card itself, I could use it plain and just stick it on plain, but I think it looks slightly better if it's embossed. So I've chosen one of the Basics embossing folders, this one with the sort of hatched design, and we're just going to run that through my machine and just emboss this piece. So I'll just give myself a little bit of room here and bring my machine in. Ooh. There we go. I need the big machine because it's a big wide embossing folder here. So I'm going to pop that in and use the embossing folder plate. I'm just going to run that through. Oh, give myself room to do it without knocking my stamp set off. It's at times like this I realise I do need a slightly bigger desk. So I'm leaving the machine there because we're going to do some more cutting in a minute, but actually I need to move it so I can do the stamping before the cutting, so let me move it first. There we go. So this is the embossed piece, and as you can see, it just gives a nice sort of texture to that, which I think matches beautifully the texture that is in the woven bits of Woven Textures DSP. Now, you could do this with any colours. What I would do, if you've got scraps you want to use up, then choose one of the colours from the scraps as the base for the card. So I've actually picked out, there are loads of different browns in this Woven Textures DSP. So I've picked out Crumb Cake for my base, but I'm also using Basic Beige and Pecan Pie. This is a piece of pecan pie. So I'm going to stick these on, and I'll probably start with this one at the bottom. And I'm not going to stick it in the middle. I'm just going to stick it somewhere so it's a little bit offset. I'm going to put that flat because it'd be easier. And I could choose which side. There's obviously, with any embossing folder, there's a debossed side and an embossed side. I think I'll have the embossed side upwards, but I could have it the other way around. So I'm just going to stick this. So these 3 panels, as I say, there's no real exact measurements for them. You're just going to stick them on one after the other and just overlap them in whichever way you actually want to. So I'm going to just shove these on really more or less anywhere, because it doesn't really matter, just so that they're offset. That's the whole point of it, is to have these sort of offset panels so they look nice. You could choose smaller ones, as long as they sort of overlap a little bit and fill the front of the card. So I think 9 by 6 is the maximum sort of size you would want, but you could use them a lot smaller. So I'm going to stick that one more or less in the centre, so it's offset against the middle one and the bottom one. So you get the idea. There's nothing sort of regular about that. I've just sort of stamped them across there, just to sort of stick them on very sort of randomly in a way, okay? And then we're going to do some stamping. And I had actually already got these cut out. That one might do. It's not very well done. Actually, I might use that one. I don't know. It's on white. No, I think I'll go with Basic Beige. So I just realised I need to reach a larger block. Where did I put the ink? Oh, there. So I'm using Pecan Pie ink to match the cardstock there, and I'm using Basic Beige for the base that I'm going to stamp on, if that makes sense, for where I'm going to stamp it. This one needs a, oops. I can just about get it on that one. I think if we're clever, we can. I want to keep this one for this particular die here. And that's, yeah, that one will fit on there. So we'll do the big stamping on here. So quite a big stamp these. They're lovely. I just love the texture of these stamps. So I think that's okay. And let's just see if we can squish it on to this piece here, just about. There we go. And then we will have this one here. I need another big block, which I didn't get out. Oh, let's use this one. Pop it up. Oh, I've got a little flower there. Sometimes when I use a set and I end up with extra bits as there, I just leave them in the stamp set, so I can always use them if I find a use for them later on. Or sometimes they actually go and get delivered with the sets if I sell them. So very variable. So I'm going to stick this one on here. Again in Pecan Pie, there we go. And then I need to do the sentiment, and I'm going to use the thanks. I'm making a lot of thank you cards at the moment because I'd run out. I send a lot, obviously, because when I'm sending my made up things, then I do send them. I haven't got the chat open, by the way, so I hope you're, oh yeah, nobody's put anything. So if you are watching, do let me know where you're watching from and what you're up to today. So I'm going to use thanks, just going to stick it on this little strip here. There we go. I might just clean these stamps. I don't like to leave ink on the stamps. I like to clean them fairly quickly when I've used them. It just keeps them fresh and keeps them clean and means it's easier to keep using them. If you leave them dirty, it can affect the next thing you're going to stamp with them. And if you leave them too long before cleaning, the ink can dry and can be a little bit more difficult to just get off. So I just use this damp cloth, pick off all the extra ink and make sure the stamp is dry. There we go. Put them away in a bit. I don't mind them sitting out clean, but I don't like them sitting out dirty. So those are my stamped bits. Oh, I haven't stamped my decorations. And I thought I had myself another envelope, but I haven't. But you can see the envelope that I've done before, and I'll show you how I've done this this particular inside using this particular stamp. So I've just stamped it in Pecan Pie. Make sure I've actually inked it. There we go. Just stamp it in Pecan Pie. Again, I'm just going to clean that because I managed to get ink everywhere on that stamp. So just clean it off first. There we go. And then this is what I mean by the water bits everywhere. So this is just a water painter. It's just an empty tube with water in and a brush. And if you go in before the ink has had a proper chance to dry, you can just move the ink from the edge of the image into the middle of where you want to have it. So I would just want my flowers coloured in here. Can you see how that works? So you can see it's still a bit wet, but it will dry very quickly. How I've just sort of filled in the colour on the top of the flowers there. I could do the same with the leaves if I wanted. Or of course you can come in and colour them with Stampin' Right markers or blends if you wanted. But I just liked the tone-on-tone colour of that. So my next stage, bits everywhere. That's to go with my thanks. I'll just leave those there. And I'm going to die cut. Can't remember why I'd got that piece out. Goodness knows. I'm sure it'll come in useful at some point. But I'm going to die cut this big die. This die doesn't have a stamp to match it. It's just a decorative leaf die. So I'm going to cut that out. And then I'm going to cut these out with the appropriate dies. So bring my machine back in. There we go. And get these out of the way here. There. Bring my cutting plates in. My top plate ready. So we're going to start off with this one. So I'm just going to lay it on. And I've got little bits of sticky tape just on there that I just use to hold things down and hold them in place while we go through. So I'm just going to pop this one through first. This is, as I said, this sort of decorative leaves die, and you'll see what it looks like in a minute. I'll bring it back again because it's going to be easier to get it out because this is pushing into the things on my desk and there isn't really room. You don't need to run things through twice. It's just that was easier because of how my desk is. So I'm just going to clear the bits off the plate. If you are die cutting, do make sure you keep your plate clean, because if you leave even a tiny bit on, then it will show through in the card that you're then cutting next. So this, I can just get this out. I will need, I haven't got my brush, so I'll have to just use my pokey tool just to get all the bits out of the middle. So I'm just going to poke those out straight into the bin here. Or a lot of them. There'll still be a few little ones left, but I can sort those out in a minute. Okay, and then we can poke out the rest of it. We can just use the edges here. It'll poke out the bits. So I like to go around most of it and push most of it out before I try and lift it off the die, because with these fairly sort of lacy sorts of dies, then if you don't get most of it lifted from the die, you can actually damage it and pull leaves off and pull little ends off if you're not careful. So there you see it comes off nice and easily, and that can go back in there. So there's a few little bits still left in here, which is not surprising with these lacy dies. I'm interested if anybody else uses the Stampin' Up dies. I find the first time you cut them, the image falls out really easily, but thereafter sometimes you have to use your pokey tool a bit. I don't know why that is, but it seems to be how it is. So there we go. That is the image. Isn't that lovely? Geraldine, hello, you're here. Yeah, don't you think that's lovely? I think it's a beautiful die cut there. So that's part of my card. I'll just put it to the side for a moment, and we will cut out these other two shapes, which I can do at the same time. I just need to find the right dies. I do need a bigger desk. There's no doubt I need a bigger desk. So I'm just going to put that one back. And the dies for these are that one. No, it's not. I think it's the outline one. That one. Yep. And this one. So a lot of the dies, when you get dies, and if you can see in the bottom here, move that on a little bit further, at the bottom of the die, try and get it in view there, you've got like two little holes, and those are for you to look through and just, whoops, I'm dropping the die now, just to check you can see the brown stem of the stamp through the die, and then you know it's lined up straight. So if you have it even slightly to one side, it'll just see the base card, and if you have it lined up properly, you will just see brown through it. So that's how you know that things are lined up properly. Now I'm going to do this one in exactly the same way and use the edges to make sure that the edges on the stem are exactly lined up, and then I can twist it and make sure that my leaves are exactly lined up. And that doesn't look too bad. There, so, whoops, torn bit of tape, but I think it'll still do. Just going to stick it down. There we go. And now I get my plate, I can cut those out, and then I can move the machine and you can actually see what these things look like. And hopefully I have lined them up okay. So just get rid of that. Ooh. So there's that one, not perfect, but it's not too bad. It's trying to do things on my desk here with not very much room. It's probably not the best idea. Normally I have my machine the other side of the room, which is probably better actually. But I wanted to show you about lining up the dies. So that one's actually not bad. Just make sure all the bits are out, and then make sure I get rid of the bits off my cutting plate, which is, I actually changed them not too long ago, but this is still quite marked. I'm going to have to use the other side for a bit. So just move those out of the way. Move that out of the way. There we go. So I was going to get these sort of stamped and cut beforehand, but actually it's such a key part of the card. I thought, no, I'll show you how we're doing it instead. Let's get rid of these bits. There we go. Oh, not too many on the floor I can pick up later. So this is my patterned bit, and yes, I like that better because you can see I did this before in crumb cake and it doesn't really show up against this centerpiece of the DSP. So I wanted the lighter color, the basic beige, and I think that looks better because it shows up better against the slightly darker DSPs there. And then I have my other pieces to add in wherever I want, and somewhere, there it is, I'd also done my thanks. And just to make this very, very simple to prepare, let's move those cutting plates. Whoops. Just put the cutting plates on the bin and it nearly fell over, so I better take it off. Just to give this an angle, these letters are angled like that, so I'm going to follow that angle and just trim it off at the end. I'm leaving one bit square, so I've just eyeballed. You can measure if you wanted, but that's what I've done there. And then I've got a slightly bigger piece of the card that I'm going to stick this onto. Some bits on that, don't like that, just trim those off. So I'm going to stick this. It is lovely. Yeah, I think it is. As I said, this at the moment, this month, they have the 50% off, so I can't remember if Thoughtful Wishes is just a bundle or whether it is part of a suite, actually. Honestly, can't remember. If anybody knows, let me know. But I can't remember. But all the suite products are buy one, get one half price. So you can buy 2 stamp sets or 2 pieces of DSP or a stamp set and a piece of DSP or 2 suites, whatever you actually want. So that is my very simple way of just making a sentiment look nice. Just cut the end and then just have the end back that way. This one I did the other way. This one, whoops, I cut that way. Up to you. Just makes it look a bit different. And then we can stick this on. So you can either use Tombow or use the fine tip glue, which I've had to decant into another bottle because my old bottle, which I've had for ages, just the tip glued up, so I couldn't use it. So I've put it into this bottle, which is lovely, but it comes out, the tip is a little bit bigger than the original one, so I have to be a little bit careful that I'm not putting too much glue out because it can come out a little bit quickly. So I'm just popping a few dots. It doesn't need many because it's not a heavy piece of card or anything. It's just, I need a few just to hold it down. I'm trying to make sure each leaf has got something near it to hold it. So let's pop that on, put the top back on. And now, without getting too much on my fingers, if possible, I can place this down the center of my card. So I'm just going to place it in the middle like that and just hold it down for a second where I've stuck the glue at the ends just to make sure it's going to stick. Because I've only put a few small blobs on, but it's enough just to hold it down and make sure it's going to stick like that. There we go. Just hold those others down. There. And then I can put these on, and I'm going to put on, this one I'm going to put on flat. So I'm just going to use some ordinary liquid glue for this one. Some ordinary Tombow. I mean, there are so many other dies in this set that I could use that. You could use those and cut them out. This one, I did think about using this particular die here, this one, because it would look similar to this, but I wanted the background of this stamp, although it hasn't, I haven't cut it perfectly. Sorry about that. But I have cut that one nicely, so that one's going to go on top anyway. And I'm going to use some of my little mini, if I can find them, little mini dimensionals, little tiny ones, because they are small enough, or you can cut up big ones. These are from an old kit, actually. It's amazing how many dimensionals I get out of kits, because you never ever use all the dimensionals when you're making up a kit. So it's really great. You have so many left over. It's wonderful. So I'll pop a few on like that. So it's enough to hold it. And I'm not bothering about some of these. I can just curl those slightly. So they're just going to sit nicely around the, that's going to sort of curve itself around where I've put the dimensionals, if you can see that. Did I do that on camera, or was that a bit off camera? I'm not sure. Sometimes I forget and do things under my eyes so I can see them properly, but they might not be showing terribly well for you. So all I've done here, just these leaves that are outside where my dimensionals are, I've just gently encouraged them to bend inwards, so that when I place this down, those leaves are going to, it's going to stick up because it's on dimensionals, but it is going to just curve back into the card a little bit. Do you see? I don't know if you can see that. But I like that better, I think, with the lighter colour in the background there. And then our final thanks we can pop on. Which I might put it over that side, actually, or down here. Oh, where do you think, folks? I overlapped it over there last time, so perhaps we'll stick it in the same place, or shall we put it over there just for something different? Normally, if I was doing that, I would angle this side of it, but do you know what? I quite like it there. What do you think? What do you think, folks? Anybody got any ideas? I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Oh dear, sneezing away. All right, I'm going to put some dimensionals on while I wait and see if anybody's got an idea where they think I should stick that card, stick this sentiment. Oops. I've stuck these bits to the desk. I don't want them on the desk, I want them on the sentiment. There we go. This is me using the very edges of these sheets of dimensionals. Don't waste anything, honestly. Top of the card. Do you mean top of the card where I just put it on the right-hand side or the left-hand side, Geraldine? Oh, can't get this one off. There we go. So did you mean that side or that side? I think I might stick it this side for just a change. It looks different that side. And the sort of random element of those. Yeah, stuck there now. Too late. So I put that one on there, which is fine. And then just to finish off the card, I've got these. These are, I think they're now retired. I don't know if you can still, I meant to check if they were still available. They're called cork rounds, and I think they're rather beautiful. And I hadn't got a card until now that I thought I could use them on, but this one is just perfect for them, even though I can't now get them out for some reason. There we go. So there's, like most of the gems that we get, there are two sizes, the small ones and big ones. So I'm just going to put a few randomly around the card, because I rather like these, because they're just quite sweet. So we'll have one of those up there, I think, because they show nicely, and we'll have a couple on the bottom as well, just to balance off the, have a couple down here so they balance off the sentiment at the top there. We have some like that. Leave that one at that corner empty, I think. There you do. What do you think? Yeah. You said either the right or the left. That's all right then, Geraldine, because it's gone on the right, so that's okay. So there is my card. Here's my other card, just to show you. And I think it is better with that basic beige covered cut out, I don't know what you call it, a sort of leaf shape at the back, because I can see it better. It just seems to lose itself in the card on that one, but that matches better for the other bits. So I hope you like those little thank you cards. As I said, the idea of these cards is to show you can use any sizes of panels, just overlap them and make them, lie them on a bit randomly so they're not straight or anything like that. And you get a really easy background, which is a great way just to use up some of the DSP you might have. So I've used the neutral colours here, but of course you could do them in colours. Remember that the backs of the packs of DSP always have the list of the colours that are used. So just choose one of the colours that's in the list on the back of your pack of DSP to match with the DSP you're using, and you can make this card in any colourway you actually want to. So I hope you have a go. As I said, in the blog that will be coming out very soon when we finish this video, I have put some sizes, but only as a guide. You don't have to worry too much about sizes. The only thing I would say is they should be, I'm just sticking this to itself. This is ridiculous. Get it in, Cal. Might have to fiddle with this later. Oh, I've gone over the top there, that's why. There we go. I've got it in. So as I said, they could be any size. I just always have them big enough to overlap. So on this one, as you can see, I've overlapped the top on the center one. On this one, I overlap the center on the bottom and the top. It's totally up to you how to put them together, but you can get slightly different looks even using the same materials. So thank you very much for joining me today. I will do another envelope. I don't know what happened to my second envelope that was ready. It's vanished, but I'm sure it'll turn up again. And yeah, I hope you can join me again soon. Now, we will be back at 2 o'clock in the future, but not next week. Next week, there will be a recorded blog. I've made a card for the blog hop, and the theme of the blog hop is summer sunshine. So I've made that. And the nice thing about that is I can schedule it because I'm going on holiday next week. I'm actually going with somebody that's on this call and we are going to eat lots of Swiss chocolate. So I'll tell you all about that when I get back. So there will be a recorded blog next week. The week after, I think I am back as normal at 2 o'clock. So do join and sign up for my emails on the website craftycarolscards.co.uk, because that will tell you when all of these things are. And if you are free on Thursday afternoon this week, I have an online Craftalong, and you will have the list of what supplies you need to make the card alongside me in the craft along with me. And those details were all out in the email last weekend. If you haven't got the email from last weekend, drop me a line, drop me an email at carol@craftycarolscards.co.uk. I can't speak anymore. And I will send you the list of what you need for Thursday, 11 o'clock. You will also need the Zoom link, because that is done on Zoom. It's not recorded, so if you don't join us live, I have got a blog to tell you how to make the cards, but it won't be the same because we'll be making it live on Zoom. So I hope I can see some of you then, and otherwise I will see you all in 2 weeks' time live. Keep an eye on the blog for next week anyway, and I will see you again then. Thank you for joining me today. Bye for now.